In his arms, I feel protected. There's no other place I'd rather be. Fall in love with Jesus. Fall in love with Jesus. Fall in love with Jesus. Was the best thing I'll ever done. Was the best thing I'll ever done. Was the best thing I'll ever done.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Skate. Welcome. Good morning to all our visitors, members, and friends. Before I go any further, I just want to ask one question. Everybody walked in, so everybody's been outside, so they know what the weather is like. They know how much sun is shining, how cloudy it is. But I have one question. Is it brighter outside or in the grave? We come in this morning like we already in the grave. We just kind of down and gloomy. I know it's cloudy outside, but when I woke up this morning, I had a joy. When I started on my way, I had happiness about myself. I was glad to get down on my knees and smile and said, Lord, before I go any further, I just want to say thank you. Let's give God a hand clap this morning.
Hallelujah.
Amen. I'm happy today. Christy, if I could get you just to sing one verse of change, just one verse.
Change me, oh God, make me more like you. Change me, oh God, wash me, Lord, through and through. Just create a clean heart, so that I may worship you. Change me, oh God. I want to be more, so much more like you. Change me, oh God. Wash me, Lord, through and through. Just create in me a clean heart, so that I may worship you. I need you to change me. Yeah, change me like only you can, Lord.
Change me.
Do it for me, Lord.
Change me.
Oh, I need you to change me. my mind, Lord.
Change me.
Oh, I need you to change me. Can't nobody do it but you, Lord. Oh, renew my walk with you, Lord.
Change me.
I'm so tired of my evil ways. Change me. Oh, I need you to change me. Fix this heart of mine. Yeah, yeah. Change me, yeah.
Change me.
Create in me a clean heart
Change me.
and renew the right spirit in me.
Change me.
That's all I need you to do is change me. Change me.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Sister Brian, for your contribution this morning. For we have another service this evening, and gonna break somebody's pattern today, but 1:30 we are to have another service, so we're gonna try and get out your way as quickly as possible so you can prepare yourself for this evening's service. But we just want to say we're glad that you decided to come and fellowship and worship with us today. Thankful to all our guests that we've had here today. So we appreciate you having us on your heart and mind to come out and fellowship with us this morning. We'll be reading from two passages of scriptures, both coming from out of 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 6 through 7, and 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 12 through 13. And it reads as follows, 1 Peter 1, 6 and 7. Wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. 1 Peter 4, 12 through 13. Beloved, think is not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange things happen unto you, but rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. The grass withereth and the flower fadeth away, but the word of our God shall remain forever. For it's a confidence builder for me that when I've been given something and then before I can deliver what God has given me, it's agreed upon and touched before I even come out. So today's topic, you done heard it once or twice this morning already, but I just want to thrice it. Today we're going to talk about it's only a test. It's only a test. For when we look at the world today, the world is going in turmoil. But for the Christian, for those who believe in God, it's only a test. For everyone has a television, I'm sure, and from time to time you'll hear the buzz come across your screen, and it'll be a multicolored screen, and you'll hear a buzzing sound, and it will say, "This is only a test." What is a test? A test is something that measures. It establishes quality performance and reliability of something. We all went to school, so we all took tests when we were in school, and we received either a passing or a failing grade. There's nothing changed about a test today. But when you look at a spiritual test, it's the same thing that the world does, but God is the administrator of the test. And the only way to pass that test is to please and satisfy God. But we get frustrated when we deal with natural tests. We're tested in all phases of our lives. Our children test us. We are tested on the job. We're tested even here at church. But if we would seek out God, then we can get the instructions from God, and it's like having Cliff Notes when you take a test. He gives you what you need to pass the test, but it's up to you to apply it. But even God said that you should know those who labor among you. So how else can God know where you are and who you are unless he tests you? We oftentimes look at a test as unnecessary. I'm out of school. I don't have to pass or have a certain grade to advance. But how else can God bring you up a level or bring you up a notch unless he tests you where you are? Sometimes the test can be long and bring on longevity, but all tests only last a season. How long that season is depends on how you respond to what God has put in front of you. When I look at one of the most popular people in the Bible who was tested, he was even called the man of faith. Abraham was tested. Abraham had been blessed with a child at the ripe old age of, I believe, 100. And here it is, God is asking him to sacrifice his only son at that time that he had longed for and that he had thought there was no possibility, so he was considered the miracle child. And here it is. I mean, this did not happen as soon as the child was born, but I believe Abraham was about 115 at the time, and so he had grown to love this child. God knew that he loved Isaac, and God wanted to test Abraham to see who he loved the most. So he asked Abraham to take Isaac up for an offering. And on the way, it even goes to show that Isaac trusted God and Abraham trusted God, but Isaac had to trust in his father just as Abraham had to trust in God. Because Abraham was an old man at this point, and Isaac was, I would say, he had to be at least 15. So at that age, he could run away. He could go against what his father had requested of him. He could have rebelled against it, but on the way up to the mountain, Isaac told his father that I do not see a sacrifice. Abraham told him to trust God, he will supply a sacrifice. But in order to trust God, you got to be went through some things with God. You got to be had a time or two where you had to try God for yourself. When you try God for yourself, it increases your confidence and it builds a relationship that Now when God puts you to the test, you don't tuck your tail and run as fast. But here it is, we done got comfortable. We don't feel we need to be tested to prove something because we're grown. I've been there and done that, but in order to keep on keeping on, in order to keep progressing in the will of God, you got to be tested. On your job, they don't just promote you. You got to be to improve some things. There has to be fruit from your labor in order to be promoted. They got to see something good in you than something that they want to invest in. So there has to be proof. There has to be fruit of your trust. We always say we trusting and believing on God. But then when God says, I want to see for myself that you trust me, and he puts a stumbling block in front of you, and you lose your composure, and you just go disarray. You just get all discombobulated just because he put a speed bump in your path. We quick to tell our neighbor, our friends, our church members that you got to trust and believe on his word. But when it comes time for us to put that same word in action, we got very little action that turns our witness into a minor effect. Now people are looking at us and saying, where is their God? But back to Isaac, he had obeyed his father. I love my dad, I really do, but I don't believe I trust him enough that if he says, if you lay down, I'm going to sacrifice you. But God has got a ram in the bush for you. I don't know if my trust in him or the God he serves is there. I'm just being honest with you. Because I feel like I still got some life to live. So I'm not ready to lay down my life on your trust. But if I know God for myself, I'll have the confidence to believe that he would not ask me if God had not told him himself. And since I believe in the God that he trusts, and I know him for myself, it will not be comfortable, but obedience brings blessings. So I'm trusting that God will make a way. But then in the back of my mind, I got to know for myself that even if he doesn't, my God is able. And I believe, as it reads, Abraham was not looking for God to spare his son, but he was looking for God to raise him up after he had proved his worth. Abraham had the faith, had the belief, had the trust of manifold. Manifold just means many. In the text, it reads about manifold temptation. Just means many tests. God promises you many tests. You look at any follower of Christ, they did not follow him without being tested. They did not always uphold to the test. But in the end, they endured the sacrifice and proved their trust in God. When we say God did it, there should be some fruit from us that God did it. I should be able to look at Sister Isabel and tell that she was thankful unto God for the sacrifice of the bullet missing the people in the house. for when we're held to the fire, when you see what has taken place, it changes your witness. You can tell me about what happened, but when I see it for myself, when I see how the bullet passed through the house and touched none of the human beings in it, I knew there was a God. But when I look at where the bullet came from, I had to take a different look at the end result, because anger began to set in, but knowing that God is all omnipotent, he took that bullet on a path where it touched no one. And everyone that was involved is still here to witness. The one that released the bullet can say, I thank God that I'm not in any more danger, didn't cause any more harm to anyone because of my carelessness. I just thank God for the test. How many times have you been at work and you say they talking about me? They whispering and gossiping behind my back, and they not respecting me the way I feel they should respect me. But if you will bring that thought from the back of your head to the front and say it's only a test. Because how many of you have been talked about in church? How many of you have been talked about on your job, and the ones that did the talking now are under you? But if you didn't go through the test where you could stand for someone to talk about you, how can you be elevated to a position where they're going to talk about you just because of the position? God is trying to take us to another level, but we got to realize that it is a test from God. And by it being a test from God, he's willing to see you through it. But you got to allow him to order your steps and direct your path. But a lot of times we get the test, and you know, when you was in high school and you wasn't prepared for the test, you hadn't studied, you go trying to get a cheat sheet or to look on somebody else's paper. You become a cheater. Or you may pass with the right grade, but you have not proven your knowledge in that area. So you have not actually passed the test, but you fronted a grade. How many times we try to front with the Lord? Lord, I'm here for you. How many times have you heard the expression, for God I live and for God I'll die? But when is the last time you did something that God instructed you to do? When your faith or your witness for Christ was questioned, you begin to act like Peter, and that ain't me. I know not of that man. It's only a test. How many times you went to the doctor and they tell you, we're going to run tests on you to see what's going on? It's only a test. The procedure does not cure you, does not resolve your issue, but it does give you knowledge of what's going on. Once you receive the information, then now you can start to apply and work towards a resolution. But in order to get a resolution, you got to know what is wrong. Job was tested by God. Satan came to God and said, if you would just move the hedge from around him, I'll turn him against you. God, having faith and confidence in Job, said, I'll allow you to do what you will, but you cannot take his life. Satan did everything he could think of to get Job to turn from God. But Job remained faithful. Job realized that it was only a test. Tests come to build you up, to show growth in you. But if you fail the test, then that means you need to take a self-evaluation and see what is wrong in me that I did not pass the test. I can't look to my neighbor and say, because of you, I failed my test. For God is going to ask you a question in the end. Who hindered you? You had the opportunity to do whatever need be in order to be prepared for the test. But you wanted to hurry up and finish. You found pleasure in being first to the finish line. But the race is not given to the swift, but to those who endure. The test is there to show God where you line up with him. Oh, in some areas you can pass a test with flying colors. And that's the area you're comfortable in, and you don't want to come outside of that area because the test is too hard. The test is going to require new sacrifice. It's going to require me denying myself in an area that I ain't ready to deny myself because my flesh is happy. You know, if you slap me, I'm going to slap you back. Cuss me, I'll cuss you back. Pray for me, I pray for you not. We just want to do what's flesh pleasing. But in order to pass the test, you got to have love. Love has to be your driving force. I got to want to do God's will. I want to please God. So if sacrificing my will get me to pass the test, then, Lord, I'm willing to go all the way. But we look at a test as something that we want to hurry up and get through with. Lord, you can test me, but it needs to be over with in the morning. I don't want to have to wrestle with this thing. I can't endure long suffering. I just want to take the test, and if it's all right with you, Lord, let it be multiple choice. I don't want to have to fill in the blank because that takes me to know what I'm talking about. But if you give me multiple choice, I believe I can guess at it, and most of the time we guess right. But Lord, I can't fill in the blank because fill in the blank is showing my knowledge. Don't test my knowledge, Lord. Give me a choice. There's no trusting when we have multiple choice. That's the process of elimination. If I know a little, I can weed out what ain't nowhere near it. But when I want to please God, that means I have to pick up the word and see what thus says the Lord. How should I hold to his hand? How am I going to get through this test? When we get a bad report from the doctor, Lord, why have you forsaken me? Why must I go through the heartache and pain, the suffering, the discomfort in my body? If you have faith in God and you believe him, then your prayer will be different. You will acknowledge, Lord, I know this is just a test. I know you're trying to elevate me in an area. What is it that I need in me to satisfy you to prove that I've passed this test? And if you meditate and focus on God, then he'll reveal the answer to you. And we look at it, if we don't get a healing, God is not with us. But God shows his power by allowing you to go through that thing and still have joy. But we want a healing. Lord, I got this thorn in my side and it's uncomfortable. I want you to remove this. I don't want you to allow me to still continue my life with this thorn in my side. We feel there's no power in that. But where is the sacrifice in God just removing the thorn? Because if he removes it, you're going to forget about it. You're going to think you all right. As we say, all is well. But what have we gained if God does not test us? If he doesn't require us to labor with an issue? Guess who did it if it's removed fastly? I did it. I went into my old book and I found some recipes for my situation. You know, back in the day, if you had a sting in you, you go find somebody who had some snuff and you'd put it on you and wait for it to draw out the sting. That's something that you did. But nowadays, that don't work. So now you got to go to the doctor and they got to slit you in your side and go inside of you to pull that thing out. And then when you get through, you thank God for the doctor. The doctor did it. But if you would seek God, let God order your steps and say, Lord, as long as you put it there, I know you can remove it. So when you're ready to remove it at your time, then you have my permission to go ahead and do it. But until you decide to move it, I'm going to labor right here, trusting and believing that you're going to remove it in your time. So until you remove it, Lord, give me the strength to endure this. Let me be able to still function and go throughout my normal proceedings. Because I know who you are. And I know if you want to remove this from me, all you got to do is speak it and it'll be removed. Amen. We done forgot who God is these days. We don't want to rely on trusting God for the outcome of his will. If it ain't my way, I don't want it. I'm not trying to please God in my flesh. What we say, God knows my heart. But the flip side of that is he does. And if it's in your heart, it'll come out. So you can't hide from God by saying, God knows my heart. Because what's in your heart will come out through your actions. If you love me, you got to show me some type of concern. There has to be some fruit that shows love. You can't just use the word and think that it's going to suffice. But we've gotten to the point in church, that's all we want to do is say it. Didn't you hear me say I love you? But as soon as you turn your back, I'll push you down. Didn't you hear me say I forgive you? But every time you look at me, I bring it back up. We don't look at that as a test, but it's God keeping that thing in front of you until you can pass the test. You sit there and question, God, why do I must keep going through this? Because you ain't passed the test. You can't cheat on a test with God, for God got the answers. The reaction that you give is not the response that God requires. So stop trying to react and cheat God by saying what is known and religious to say, and give God the fruit of your actions. How many times you come to church and you say, oh, I thank the Lord, he keep on blessing me. But then you get home and there's a notice in the mail that if you don't come up with X amount of dollars in so many days, we're going to reclaim something from you. All that praising the Lord just went out the window. Lord, why would you? I just shouted for you at church. I just told you I loved you. I just lifted my hands in the sanctuary and gave you all the glory and praise. And now I'm home and I see this. While you was at church lifting holy hands and magnifying his name, God was sending out a letter. I heard you at church saying what you said. Now you got home and you see the letter, God says, prove it. Prove it. You thank me for what I've already done, but now you're needing something else. Where is your faith? What you gonna do now that you got the notice and they telling you it ain't looking good? The diagnosis is fatal. You might as well go home and get your family together and tell them you ain't got much more. That we need to go on any vacation we've been wanting to go on, and I'm going to go buy anything that I've been wanting to buy because they told me I got a short time to live. So instead of giving what I got left to God, I'm going to give it to myself. I'm going to do what pleases me in my sight. For I've lived for God all this time, and this is what God has done for me. God, I've been faithful to the church. I've been a tither. I've been to prayer meeting. I've been to the anniversaries. I gave an offering. I prayed when you instructed me to pray. So why have you forsaken me? Why must I go through this test? But all God is going to say is, I'm just sending you through manifold tests. I'm going to keep on testing you. And you want God to keep testing you because as long as he tests you, that means there's some purpose left for you. So that should be joy on the inside that's saying, I know he has a work for me. I'm not satisfied in my natural being, but my spirit man is rejoicing because I know God is not through with me yet. So my prayer would be, just be patient with me, for God ain't through with me yet. But instead of watching what goes on in my dwelling, while you're looking at me, turn that mirror around and look at yourself. See, what am I doing while God ain't testing me? Because if there's no test, there's no growth. And if you want to grow in God, if you want to do what the name says out front, if you want to be progressive, then you got to realize that you're being tested by God. And if God is doing the testing, then all you can do is study to show yourself approved. Stop letting the test discourage you. When the test come, I was just coming into my own, and now he's putting another test in front of me. That ought to be your praise. I overcame my last test, and God has given me another one. So instead of crying out, Lord, I'm tired, I can't deal with another test, that's when you should get down on your knees and say, Lord, I thank you for waking me this morning and starting me on another day's journey. For this test that you provided me with today, I'm going to lift up my hands and honor you. I'm seeking out your word, Lord. But we get insecure in our relationship with God, and we get shame of lifting up his name, and we run hide from what he has taught us. God, I know I need to do this, but they looking at me. They judging me. So I don't want to give off the wrong impression. I don't want them to think bad of me. So we alter what God has put in our heart to do. And now we've corrupted what God is wanting to do. But then we praying and saying, God, be a blessing to our mess, instead of being a blessing to what God is wanting us to do. Lord, they scandalized my name. When I told them what you had put on me to tell them, they rolled their eyes and they looked at me and said, who am I to be telling them something? But if you tell them the way God told you to tell them, when they look at you, if they look at you with the spiritual eye, if they look at you seeking to see the kingdom, they're trying to find God in you, then they'll see the light shining. And they won't see that natural body that the words and the voices coming out of. They'll see the spirit man, and they'll say, well, I feel it too. God is speaking through him. And in order of being a Pharisee, I'm going to get on board and do my part to see that this is successful. We got to stop looking at the messenger and start getting the message. Don't judge or look at who's delivering it. Just look at the words and let them come down into your spirit. And then you see God. God, this is what I hear coming out. What would you have me to do? God being a faithful God. Lord have mercy. He'll direct your path. He will allow you to tap in to his word. You'll be able to see what God is trying to do, not just in you, but in the whole body. He'll see you. He'll let you tap into the vision. And you'll see he's taking progressions from here to here. Now, God, what is my role? What do I need to do to see this thing, as they say in the street, jump off? How can I help this jump off? What do I need to do? But in order to do that, it's going to require sacrifice. It's going to require us to deny ourselves. It's going to require us to put us down and pick God up. And then when we pick God up, I'll be able to look at Michaela and see her walk. And I don't have to do what she do, but I'll see that what she's doing is working. And even though I can't do it like she do it, but I can say, Lord, I see your servant, Michaela. She's doing a great work. I want to be part of that, Lord. What do I need to do? And now her walk is becoming her witness. I don't have to judge what she's doing, but I'm looking at her walk. And now God is going to tell me, get your house in order. In order to be able to have a walk, you got to get in line. And once I begin to line up with God, now he'll begin to pour his word into me, and I'll be able to walk in his steps. And when I walk, all the shoes ain't going to be comfortable because I'm going to be tested. Bunch of you can probably relate. Before you took on certain positions, you had friends, you had buddies, you had acquaintances. But once you got into your position, oh, look at the frowns you get. You quit getting spoken to. You don't get invited to the party no more. You don't get an invitation. You don't get informed of who just had a baby. They don't tell you about who said what and why. Now you become the subject. And if you hold fast to what God has taught you, when you hear him talking about you, instead of you tapping into your natural man, you go to your spirit and you begin to pray for him. And God said he'll make your enemies your footstool. And now they'll be sitting in front of you and watching you be blessed while they still struggling with a test. If you believe in what God is wanting to do in your life, don't be fretting by the test. Say, Lord, I'm waiting on my next test. You've tested me in this area, and you told me that I passed with flying colors. So now that you test me in that same area, when they talk about me, it don't bother me none. I'm able to just turn the other cheek and get down on my knees and pray for them. And I can say, I love you with all the love in my heart. I don't have to roll my eyes at you. I can lift my hands and I can anoint you. I begin to pray for you and tell you, if you serve the God that I serve, you'll know that passing this test brings joy to your soul. God is wanting to do a work for us. But we got to be willing to test. We got to be willing to be tested. Welcome the test. If you got a pain in your body, don't go seeking a healing, because sometimes if you endure the pain, it's going to bring out something in you that you didn't know was even in you. And then once you show God that you can work with that thing being still in you, then if it's his will, it'll be removed. Now you got two blessings. You got this issue that was removed from your body. And you got growth because God has showed you that he's faithful. And he's showing you that he's still with you. I'm done. It's only a test. We got to be willing to let God test us. Let God bring us through the test. Because when we let God bring us through, we know we came out on the other side and God is going to rejoice. May not feel good to your natural man because you done lost some things. But what good is it to gain the world and lose your own soul? Doors of the church are open. There may be somebody here that's ready to be tested this evening. Want God to test him. So when God does the testing, all the results and the reward are magnificent. Give us a song, Andre.
Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. Walk with me, Lord. walk with me while I'm on this teacher's journey. I want Jesus to walk with me. Come on, help me sing. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. Yeah. While I'm on this teacher's journey, I want Jesus to walk with me. Hold my hand, hold my hand, Lord. Hold my hand, hold my hand, Lord. Hold my hand, yeah, yeah, yeah. While I'm on this Jesus' turn. Oh, I want Jesus to hold my hand. Be my friend. Be my friend. Love. Be my friend. Be my friend, Lord. Be my friend. While I'm on it, Jesus' hand. I want Jesus to be my friend. Don't leave me alone. Don't leave me alone, Lord. Don't leave me alone. Don't leave me alone, Lord. Don't leave me alone. Yeah, while I'm on it, Jesus' journey. I want Jesus to walk with me. Yeah, walk with me. Walk with me. Walk with me. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. Yeah, while I'm on this Jesus' journey. I want Jesus to walk with me.
Thank you, Andre. Sister Dawson, if you would give us the report. Amen. Pastor Brian, give us your report.
Amen. First, most of all, we want to thank God for our pastor, Pastor Corey, and the wonderful pastor. The sermon, it's just a test. It's just a test. And as long as you stay on this side, you're going to always be tested. The best thing about the test is, as you say, pass it. Let me tell you something. And God grades on a curve. See, some of us can make 100. Some of us can't make 60, but you guess what? There you go. That curve come by grace and mercy. That 60 you made, he going to throw that 40 in. And most time I don't make about 30, so he throws 70 in for me. Sister Brown was in the hospital twice. She's out now. She got out the day before yesterday. She's doing a lot better.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
I don't want to say she don't tell the truth, but if you call her, she'll say, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. I've been married going on 55 years, and my wife has never been in the hospital beside of having babies. Wow. My wife has never been on a walker and couldn't walk. You hear what I'm saying? Never. The word never means exactly what I said. I've never seen my wife like that, and it hurt me. She couldn't walk. She couldn't walk. I didn't say wouldn't walk. She couldn't walk. They had to give her therapy and everything. Don't know exactly what happened, but whatever happened, happened. But whatever, God is bringing it back this way. So y'all continue to pray for her. I'm going to leave this with you. Growth comes through sanctification. Here and when you get there for rewards.
Thank you, Pastor Pratt, for that praise report and that beautiful dismount. All right, any other announcements from the floor? We want to take the time to acknowledge our visitors and our guests. And if you would have something, would like to say something, need to say something, now is your chance. So while we give you a round of applause, if you would have anything to say, please stand and we'll recognize you. Progressive, let's give our visitors a round of applause. We see we don't have any, but we want you to know you're welcome. We appreciate you being with us this morning. Hopefully we didn't run you off. Hopefully you'll come back and visit us again. Keep in mind the church anniversary. We still have a goal to obtain, so let's keep working towards that goal to make sure we secure it. Continue to pray for our pastor and his wife in their absence.
Amen.
Continue to even pray for one another. For we all have some type of challenge, issue that we're dealing with, so please pray for one another. Pray for me. I still have not conquered or gotten over my throat issue. Don't understand it, but God, every morning, he finds a way. He shows himself to me. I go to bed, I can't talk. I wake up in the morning. I almost fussed this morning. Brother Dawson called me about 6. First thing I might sound like you still in the bed. To him, it sounded like I was just getting out of bed. To me, I was thankful because that was the first word I was able to say. So I just thank God for showing up when he needs to. So I'll suffer for it later, but I know it's for his purpose. So I'll take that on until he decides to remove it. We do have an evening service, afternoon service at 1:30. Please handle your business in between service so that we can be back here on time to welcome our guests in, start on time, and enjoy another service, another opportunity. So we can be thankful that God is still keeping us here and still showing the work. Like I say, I'm grateful, I'm thankful for the ordination that's going to take place. So I thank God for that. Still asking for your prayers. Like I said, we are serving, so give them a chance to get it together and do enjoy the meal, enjoy the food. But then don't forget we still have things that we need to do. We need to recover the church, get everything back in order so we can receive our guests and go ahead with the next service. Holy music. Okay, we do have a statement.
First of all, I want to say I thank God for being here today. I couldn't just sit in my seat and not say anything. On Friday evening, my house got shot through with a bullet hole. No one was hurt. No one was hit. No one was traumatized. No one was screaming. No one was crying. Everyone was okay. I just got to say I thank God. Because it could have been me. It could have been my child. It could have been my cousin. It could have been anybody, his family even. But no one was here. And I just want to thank God. That's all I want to say.
But God. But God. On your feet, everybody will stand.
Whoa, like a ship that's tossed and driven, battered by the angry sea. When the storm of this life is raging, and the fury will be fired on me, and I sit here and I wonder why all these good things keep on passing me by. Listen, when I say to my soul, don't worry, know the Lord will make a way somehow. Can I say it again? Oh, like a ship, it's tossed and driven.